How do you start loving yourself? Serious. I find the way I speak to inanimate objects influences how I talk to myself. Like for example, when a computer is being slow or glitchy, people will say "work you piece of shit," whereas I'll say things like "go computer, I believe in you, you can do it." It has honestly helped me be more kind and patient with myself, which in turn has helped me see my own value, but also actively making changes to become who I want to be has greatly helped as well. That's a good idea. I think I'm going to start doing it too. Same. That sounds nice. You are nice. Thanks. My name isn't nice though. Face with tears of joy. Don't try to think of ACC names when sleep deprived. Honestly, yay. The first step to self-love is learning how to be gentle with yourself. Whether you practice on other people, your pets, or inanimate objects, learning how to be gentle with yourself will help. Yep, sometimes called act as if, we tend to keep punishing ourselves, waiting to be kind to ourselves until we feel we deserve it, when in fact that very attitude makes it harder for us to ever feel worthwhile. Treating children as if they have inherent worth is how they build self-esteem. It's the same for our grown-up selves. It's weird how you compare how you treat yourself with how you treat inanimate objects, but it kinda makes sense. You might treat others more nicely because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You can't hurt feelings of objects, so you are ruthless with them. And somehow we don't care about not hurting our own feelings, so we are ruthless with ourselves. Whoa, thanks for that, Shapuka. Really, that was a great way to put it, and made me realize that if I treated myself like I treat other people, instead of my car when I am fixing it, well, I will try it. I thought I was the only person who did this. I creeped people out when I did this in my school in front of a teacher. I was trying to fix a printer cause I wasn't working and the teacher kept on smacking it. The teacher failed and I had a go. I basically talked to the printer and gave it a little stroke on the side and it started working. I believe that inanimate objects also have feelings, so when you say nice things to them or offer something nice to them, they work faster. Proof. I always did this with my Flash games. They yelled not load, and after I said that I'll offer them food, they loaded faster than ever. What a good comment. Go get yourself some upvotes. That's oddly wholesome. One thing that helped me a lot was reserving one night a week to take myself on a date. I tried all sorts of things like going out to eat alone. Little awkward at first, but honestly not too bad by then, and going to movies alone, going for a walk in a park, and finally I figured out my ideal self. Date was a bath with some light music and enough candles to be vaguely concerned about burning my house down. It takes a lot of being uncomfortable and sitting in quiet with your own thoughts, and eventually it gets less and less uncomfortable and you realize you're really not as bad as you think you are. I started doing this years ago. Didn't do it to improve my opinion of myself, although it definitely did help me with my confidence. Just did it because I was bored and wanted to get out of the house, and I worked a shift opposite all my friends. Now I do it because I genuinely enjoy going out and doing things alone. Where I live, spending time on your own is practically the unavoidable single choice now, for almost everyone. Sitting in the quiet with my thoughts is when I realize that I'm worthless. Honestly, same. Making sure you have a means of entertainment or something to think about would help when you're out alone. Perhaps, do you write or draw, or have other hobbies to do if you happen to go out for dinner, or something? If you don't, you can always make one. Also, when you're home alone, or whatnot, try to be productive at every moment of the day. You aren't distracted. It doesn't matter how short or long the task you are doing takes. I have a really bad habit of getting distracted for hours on end until I break myself out of my thoughts or whatever non-productive thing I am doing, and I start with something small, like wiping off the counter or taking the trash out. It was a small thing to do, but it helped, and I feel a little better about myself. As you go along, you can begin to consider things that require more thought and dedication. plan all the stuff you want to finish on a to-do list for that day. Make it the night before, or the morning of. It helps more than you think. Last thing. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to the past versions of you. Only you. Don't feel worthless about the fact that you have not achieved as much in your life as your cousin of the same age as you has. A student with social media and a group of friends. Already accepted into 2 colleges. Who knows what they want to do for a career? Comparing like that makes me feel like utter shitty. Focus on only your achievements you value and how you are improving. No one else has a place in this equation, but you. You may not have been asking for advice. I kind of just wanted to ask you briefly what may help you not feel as bad about yourself, but it descended into this whole reply. LOL. But I hope this helps anyway. If you have any other questions, or want help, feel free to PM me. We are all worth something. I fucking love doing stuff by myself. Started out by necessity and now I almost prefer going to dinner, going to the movies, going to sports bars to watch football, going to sporting events, etc. by myself. I bring a book if I have time to read, or I write, or I draw. It's wonderful. So underrated and a massive confidence booster. If you can be happy alone, you become so much more resilient. Treat yourself like the people you love. You want to become your own best friend. Be patient when you duck up. Do nice things for yourself. Put in the extra effort to make things easier on your future self. Appreciate your past self and the things you've done to get where you are today. Let the past go and forgive yourself. When you start thinking about all the mistakes you made, try and interrupt those thoughts with something good you've done. Helping someone or something you did that you're proud of. Treat yourself with respect and never settle for less from anyone else. Treat yourself 2019. This will sound weird at first, but just stick with me here. No matter who they are, how famous they are, how influential they are, or even how powerful they are, everyone has to take a real nasty shit sometimes that just destroys them. When you realize this, you realize everyone has some pretty similar problems, and in a way we are all alike in our way. We all deal with a nasty shit. You realize people who try to pass themselves off as perfect deal with this too. People who have it all together deal with it as well, and even our loved ones deal with this too. When you realize no one is perfect, you learn to become okay with your own insecurities because other people have them too. Replace my shitting metaphor with another word. Anxiety, depression, loneliness, everyone goes through it. Once you accept this, you can truly begin to love yourself. Removed. This. So much. Thank you for articulating this. I'd say start accepting that everyone has flaws. You, me, and everyone else, brother. And that's okay. Agreed. I could make a long list of mine. There are so many other answers already, many of which include concrete advice or profound insights. Mindfulness therapy and meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, taking care of your body not in the fix the outside love the inside bullshitty way, but in the way that certain parts of your biological health can have significant impact on your mental health, like your gut microbiome. There are almost too many legitimate answers to even know where to start, but I can say one thing that's made all the difference for me. For me, self-love requires acceptance, and acceptance requires understanding. The more I know about myself, the more I understand myself, the more I can grow to balance acknowledging and accepting both my strengths and my flaws. To that end, I've had a lot of things to work out. Things like understanding that no one has it figured out, no matter how much they seem like they do. Some people manage to intermittently convince themselves that they do, but that voice in their head that says otherwise is just as loud for them as it is for you. Some people learn to ignore it, but my preference is to coexist. It's there for a reason, and it's important to me to be able to listen to it without letting it control me. Everyone has their own shitty, and 99% of the time, they are too wrapped up inside their own heads for your shitty to even register to them. That's part of what defines us as human, and in a way, It's a universal truth that unites us if we let it. But to let it, we have to be willing to acknowledge and accept our own flaws as readily as we do others, instead of hiding behind all the walls we put up between each other for fear of letting everyone else see that our house isn't spotless. Because they're hiding behind their walls too, telling everyone else that theirs is. But we have so much more in common than we have differences, if we just invite each other in once in a while. Perhaps the most controversial or unconventional part of my emotional state is, well, I know I don't love myself. Not the way I'm supposed to, anyway. It doesn't look like the idealistic version of perfect self-actualization that everyone tries to project, because nobody is perfect. It's entirely unreasonable and unrealistic to assert that this idealistic perfection is the only correct way to be. Nobody loves themselves that much. We have a name for that. It's called narcissism. What else do we do as human beings where the only thing we consider success is absolute perfection? So no, I don't love myself that way. I probably never will. Very few people ever do, I'd wager. In fact, I'm decidedly below average in the self-love department. But once I came to terms with that and understood that that's not a failure, I could finally move past that. We as a society, especially in Western culture, and especially with social media and bullshit pop psychology, tend to hang so much importance on this entirely unrealistic, romanticized ideal of self-love. I felt like it was something wrong with me that had to be fixed before I could improve my emotional health or my life. But at least for me, it was the reverse. I just needed to divorce that one thing that happens to be a personal flaw of mine from my perceived ability to get what I want out of life or accomplish personal goals. Everybody has flaws, and this happens to be one of mine. It's not fundamentally more damning than any other emotional or psychological flaws, just because self-love doesn't come easily to me, just because I'm the sort of person who is more dependent on external validation and support from the people I care about for my sense of self-worth. That doesn't mean for an instant that I can't have healthy relationships, or can't be happy, or can't be emotionally healthy overall, or any of the other things pop psychology wants to tell me I can't do without loving myself first. It doesn't mean I'm broken, it means I'm human. It's not an easy thing to reconcile, because I still have to acknowledge and be mindful of the fact that this is one of the ways my brain works differently from many people's, while still not viewing it as this thing that I absolutely must fix. I accept that this is a flaw of mine, and if I don't account for it, if I pretend it's not there, it will run my life. But as long as I know it's there and I'm not running from it anymore, when I can simply look it in the eye and call it what it is, it has so much less power over me. I've learned that sometimes I need to take a step back and try to think about my emotions or my train of thought and ask myself, okay, is this you talking? Is this because of real things that are actually happening to you? Or is this the budgie you keep in the cupboard and maybe I don't yet have the ability to just snap my fingers and make the storm disappear, but at least I can see that it's storming and I should bring an umbrella. Be careful with what I expose myself to if I know I'm a little raw. Do something I find comfort in if I can manage it. Be aware of how I'm acting around the people I care about because I don't want to take it out on them. If I'm close with someone, I'll just tell them outright how I'm feeling and assure them it's not personal so there's less pain and confusion on their part. Tell them what I need, whether that be to watch a feel-good movie, have time to myself, or just take a nap. They'll understand and they'll be glad you trusted them enough to let them in on it instead of just pushing them away. It's not perfect, but nobody is. It's not perfect, but it's 1,000 times better. And ironically, the thing that helped me stop hating myself was simply learning to accept that I don't love myself the normal amount, and that's okay. The budgie hasn't gone away, he still lives with me, but I've given him a name and a room. I know what he looks like, I know what to call him, and I know where he lives, and honestly, I've had worse roommates. It takes a lot of time and effort, but it's such a great payoff. Go to be honest with yourself and stop blaming yourself for things that really aren't your fault. Tell yourself you're worth it and that you deserve the world, that you're amazing and sweet and beautiful and handsome and that you have the skills and determination to do anything you want, that you're independent and you're your own person. Compliment yourself but don't be ducky. Know your worth but don't be entitled. Say it in the mirror. Things like I'm worth it, I'm good adjective, etc. and do it until it doesn't feel weird anymore. It'll feel weird at first, trust me, but it's then it doesn't. Don't be too hard on yourself too. If things get hard, just remind yourself it's part of the process. If you ever find yourself tearing yourself down, catch it before it gets too harsh. Take a deep breath, and try to steer away from those thoughts. And something that's really important, try not to compare yourself to others. Everyone is different and everyone has their insecurities and whatnot. It only does more bad than good if you compare. IDK. These all helped me. I'm still learning how to love myself, but it's gotten a lot better. I really hope these help you. 3. Make a list of everything you love like about yourself, personality or physical, and make it as long as you can. It can be as simple as I love how I make sure I can be there for my friends when they need me, or I love how I write the letter K, or anything like that. Just list things for as long as you can. Keep that list, and every time you feel bad or down, read it again. Read it in your head. Read it aloud. Read it before you go to bed. Read it when you wake up. Read it all the time. And every time you like something new, add it. Another thing I heard that I liked is focus on improving yourself 1% every day. That's it. It adds up. So if there's something you don't like that you can change, work on it and improve 1%. That's all. And appreciate where you are, the work you're putting in, and where you're going. Just 1% a day. That's all you have to do. Not op, but I'll be making my list today. Thank you for this. As for the second part, I have something similar. I started it after losing a cousin to cancer a month ago that made me want to appreciate myself and life in general more. It's called No 0 Days. It means that I have to do something that my future self will be proud of or thankful. Either something small like reading a paragraph from a book, going for a small walk to get some fresh air, or something bigger like reading a whole play in a day, practice coding, or helping a friend in need. Anything to push myself forward as a person. Some days even finishing a paragraph from a book is hard, but no 0 days are allowed. So it's like your rule, but it's not always a 1% improvement. Sometimes it's a 0.05% and sometimes it's a 3%, but never 0%. Spending time with yourself. The more time you spend with yourself, and I mean time during which you explore hobbies and creative pursuits, the more you learn about yourself. And the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about what you like about yourself. You will also learn what you don't like about yourself, and you can then choose to change those things that you don't like or accept them. But the important part is taking the time to get to know yourself through and through, even if the process is sometimes painful. Anything I can do to help? Going through a rough time? It's hard. I won't sugarcoat it. It helps if you're around friends or surround yourself with people who like you for you. I don't know, dude. Sometimes I feel like my problems and flaws are so duckified that I don't even know how to feel about myself. Are you kind of young? Maybe? I don't know what it is, but the older I get, the less I give a shit about what others think of me. With the exception of my husband and daughter, I have my insecurities, but they don't rule me like they used to. RuPaul has this great saying, what other people think of me is none of my ducking business. As for how to feel about yourself, imagine you had a child, and they grew up to be like you. Would you love them unconditionally still? Of course you would. Just try to remember that unless you're a murderess, raping, psychopath, you're probably fine and shouldn't get so down on yourself. Adopt a shelter dog or an older cat. Caveat. First, assess if you can be a good caretaker or not. Being responsible for another life can be uplifting for some people and they rise to the occasion. Other people grow resentful from the new stress. Same applies to having children. Find a flaw. Fix it. If you can't fix it, accept it. Repeat. Okay, I can't say for sure, but I think I found the real answer to this question. None of that shallow, fragile self-love skincare tonight with bullshit. None of the lofty standards set by the body positivity movement, or the constantly reiterated spend time alone. Get to know yourself advice. I have spent enough time alone to know that if you don't already love yourself, you'll just hate yourself more. By the way, what I'm about to say isn't my own discovery. I got it from a book. Follow me down this rabbit hole. Let's start from the outside in. Not everything you hate about yourself, but everything you hate about others. This is important. Conjure up the things other people do that grinds your gears on a personal, emotional level. Get specific. Okay, now try to remember a time in your life when you have done that thing, or some version of it. You are exactly the same as the thing that you hate, fully capable of the same crimes. Our ego tells us it's different because it's us, or that it happened in the past, but those are just lies the ego invents to protect itself. We are everything we dislike about others. Let's do some examples. We as a society hate narcissists on a personal level. It's a part of our culture. What else is a part of our culture? Individualism. Toxic individualism, even. Seems more than coincidental that an individualistic culture would, as an entity, condemn narcissism. No, the truth is that the things we hate about others are the things we cannot accept in ourselves, that we have deemed unacceptable. The ego creates a differentiation, but with no outlet and reflection. An emotional response manifests in projection. You accept that you are a narcissist. For example, think of some times in your life when you have been narcissistic, and suddenly you stop hating narcissists, and you stop hating yourself for being a narcissist, and then you realize we must all be narcissists or we wouldn't condemn it as a society. But let's bring it closer to home. There are some things we hate about ourselves that our ego cannot lie away so quickly. Sure, the ego can rationalize that we are not villains, so villainous characters like narcissists cannot be us. But what about other flaws? Stupidity, laziness, flaws that are less black and white. As sure as you are the things you can't stand in others, you are the things you can't stand in yourself. But flaws do not exist in a vacuum. They are part of a symbiosis of an entire personality trait. It's hard to see it at first, but it's always there. Finding it will lead you to accept the flaw because denying the flaw also denies the other half of it, the good personality trait that you like about yourself. So you think you might be kind of stupid? What if being stupid pushed you to make excellent grades, get into a good college, read books you never picked up? Are you lazy? Or are you stubborn? Did your stubbornness ever prevent you from doing or saying something you didn't want to? Follow your flaws to your positive traits, and follow your positive traits to your flaws. Doing this practice over time will bring you to accept your whole self. But what about racists, homophobes, murderers? I'm sorry, but we don't offer exemptions here at the Get Real show. Maybe you wouldn't murder someone in cold blood now, but what if you have been raised in a closet by violent parents who gave you drugs and messed up your development? The capacity is within all of us. You have to accept all of everybody before you can accept yourself. That's the hard part. Here's the fun part. Everything you love about everyone else, same logic. The things you most admire about others, the things which stir you on an emotional level when you see them manifest in other people, is because the capacity, especially exists within you. You don't allow them to manifest in yourself because you've told yourself for too long that you can't. You've lied. But it still exists within you, and not having an outlet in reflection, it seeks manifestation in projection. It wouldn't cause such a reaction in you if it wasn't part of you. Train yourself to manifest those traits within yourself, and you'll stop living vicariously through others, or resenting others for what they have which you feel entitled to. And again, on the positive side of personal traits, we follow them back to the negative side, for true acceptance in a whole. I read all this in a book called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. That book changed my life. It's like $10,000 worth of therapy in a $10 book. Everyone actually needs to read it. Now I see the pain in others so much better, and I'm so much less affected by others' opinions of me. I like myself, and if someone else says something negative about me, it's probably just a projection. Forgiveness.